You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
It's a bullshit question.
Does that mean that you can't answer?
It's an inanimate fucking object.
You're an inanimate fucking object!
Man, fuck you. Your mother's an ass.
No, my mother was too drunk to be an astronaut.
Oh, Dad, what about you?
Fuck you! No, Dad! What about you? Fuck you!
It's not about you, you mathematical dick. It's fuck you. That's my name.
Where's Moron? Moron's here, so
He's my friend. So was I.
The food court is downstairs. The cookie stand is upstairs. It's not like we're talking quantum physics here.
The cookie stand counts as an eatery. The eateries are part of the food court.
The reason is because of their tips.
Fuck all that.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen of Movie Battleground? We've got our first match here in the new Movie Battleground remake, we'll call it. We've got a new player and an old veteran here on hand. We will start off with the young rook, Jacob Cameron. Welcome to the league. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'll be the first to admit my debate skills are... I don't know what they are yet, so I'm going into this guns a-blazing, and I hope that I come out of this looking somewhat decent.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like I think I've heard you debate over in Henryland, and it's been a pleasure. So excited to see you over here, and I appreciate the fluorescence. With that said, we will go on over to Chad Webb. He's been around for quite some time in the old leagues. You know him, you love him. How you doing, Chatters?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just hearing Jacob talking about like finding his footing in debate. I mean, it's kind of like it is like that. It's just trying to figure out your style and your presentation and like what works for you, because not everything what works for one person might not work for you, and you just gotta like do your thing and say what you got to say, and hopefully it works. Hopefully what I have to say works, because I'm very excited for these questions. I think they're very good.
All righty. Excuse me. We'll get going here. Alrighty, so what you guys watching will come to notice is that this match ended up with a theme, coincidentally. I did not intend to do a themed match to start things off, but hey, it's a good time to party, and we all kind of like the same stuff in this particular group. So, with that said, we will move on to question number one. Jacob Cameron will be going first on this one. And question number one: in what movie does Rupert Grint best capture Ron Weasley? Jacob, your opening minute when you begin speaking.
So Rupert Grint best captures Ron Weasley in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Ron Weasley as a character as a whole is just been kind of there for me. I was always more like Harry and Hermione, and then Ron's a distant third. That's just me personally. However, I feel like throughout the movies, Rupert Grint captured the spirit best in Deathly Hallows Part 2 because he does the most stuff. He takes out one of the last Horcruxes in the Chamber of Secrets. He finally ties the knot with Hermione, so that prophecy is fulfilled. I feel like he does the most in Deathly Hallows Part 2, and I feel like, and this is true for what I've experienced reading the books, so I'm not just saying that to be controversial. I feel like in some cases he's just there, like just to be there. So I feel like with Deathly Hallows Part 2, he's the most useful and he does the most amount of things.
Good stuff there. Chad, your minute when you begin speaking.
Rupert Grint is the perfect Ron Weasley. Just like most actors from the films, he is permanently linked with that character. Therefore, it's tough to decide when he most captures the character, since he always kind of does. He definitely grows as an actor throughout the series too, as all the young actors did. However, I believe he most captures Ron's essence in the very first movie, Sorcerer's Stone. Right out of the gate, he is Ron. I don't know if it's due to him trying too hard to act as the films progress or what, but there's something special about Rupert Grint as a young kid being silly silly and joking right up until Chris Columbus yells action, and then using that childlike energy to bring us the Ron we know and love from the books. I know Ron gets a little more mature later on, but I think Ron is perfect when he is energetic, hopeful, funny, embarrassed, silly, sometimes jealous and a little rude, but also brave and selfless when it really counts. He always captures Ron to a high degree, but he mostly captures the character in that first movie when he goes from the silly underdog kid to defending the school with the best game of chess in ages.
Alrighty, we'll cock that back. You guys will get another 1 minute apiece. And Jacob, your second minute when you begin speaking.
So I feel like in Deathly Hallows Part 2, like I said, he is more useful. He's had bursts of that throughout the entire series. It all comes to a head here. It all builds and builds throughout the series, and it all just reaches the promise with that final one. He is the most effective to the trio, I guess, if we're going to call it the trio, in that one. And in some of the other movies, I feel like he's just either there or he's complaining. And in Deathly Hallows Part 2, he does the most to help out, and he has all of his biggest moments in that particular movie. Like I said, taking out the cup, finishing off the Horcruxes with Harry. That doesn't happen in any other movie besides Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Chad, your minute when you begin speaking.
As the movies progress, the true plot starts to kick in, so there's a lot missing from the characters in some of the films. Deathly Hallows Part 2 in particular doesn't have a lot of great Ron moments because it's trying to wrap up the big epic story, so it's mostly action. In the earlier movies, especially Sorcerer's Stone, we get more time to spend with the characters. Ron especially is fleshed out and fully realized super well early on. Harry is the focus, but Ron is right there along with him, learning about everything, making friends, and helping to save the school. Harry has to grow up so fast in these movies in order to meet a lot of the challenges he faces. You can see Dan Radcliffe capture Harry more in the later films as he comes of age, but Ron feels unapologetically Ron from the get-go, as he gets more of the spotlight earlier on. Ron is less of the focus later, with a few exceptions like in Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows Part 1. In comparison, Part 2 feels much less of the focus, so picking the last movie doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's some Ron moments, but you lose a lot of the humor that makes Ron Ron. Sorcerer's Stone lets Ron breathe and experience the full range of emotion. Grint nailed it in day one.
Alrighty, your 4-minute open debate will begin when the first player begins speaking.
So I actually really like Ron. I know you said you don't really care that much about Ron. He's kind of like more of like an afterthought, aside thing. I feel like that's exactly what he feels like in the last movie a lot of the times, except for like that one big moment he has with Hermione. But in a lot of the other movies, I feel like he gets a lot of great moments, like the Quidditch stuff in Half-Blood Prince, the Chamber of Secrets stuff, and with doing the Polyjuice Potion in the second movie. And there's a lot in Deathly Hallows Part 1, especially saving Harry's life. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff in the other movies that you could have picked that, just really service Ron more than the last one does. He does feel like an afterthought there. So I get not liking him there, but, yeah.
Well, with Sorcerer's Stone, I feel like he's just there to just react to things and be like, oh, troll bogey. Ugh. Like, why is he even there? He gets better as the movies go on. And to your point, he does get more things to do. But Ron as a character, he has a couple distinct modes to where, like, sometimes he'll just be on Harry's side, and then he'll just get angry and bitter at Harry over the weirdest things. Like in Goblet of Fire, he just stopped being friends with Harry for reasons. Like, Harry was getting too popular, even though he was the boy who lived. So, like, Ron just felt very samey, like all throughout the Wizarding world.
Yeah, I do actually agree with you a little bit there about like the later movies past like the Chris Columbus years, where like it feels like the movie Ron diverges from the book Ron quite a bit, and that's why like it feels like the at least the first two and especially that first one, they really capture that character and really give him a lot to do. Like I know you're saying like he's just mostly complaining, saying troll bogeys and stuff. I mean, he does have a lot of fantastic quotes, but he actually really has like a full arc in that movie where he, feels like he's super jealous of like his brothers, super jealous of like Harry, even though he doesn't show it a lot. But then at the end of the day, at the end of the movie, he's saving the day, and he has that great line that Harry, it's you that has to go on, not me, not Hermione, you. And so he has like way more lines that are not just him complaining, but actually inspiring and trying to help. And I think that's what is great about the first one is you get so much great stuff from Ron. You get those little moments like the troll bogeys that are like him complaining and stuff. It's kind of funny. He is used as a funny character a lot of the times, but he does also get these deeper moments as well.
We have to walk a long while to get to the point where he's like, and then the queen will take me. We have to go through him, the broom hitting him in the face, and it's like, Ron's hurt again, womp womp. Like, it just feels very samey to me. And so when Deathly Hallows Part 2 comes along, and Deathly Hallows Part 1, he was at his worst in his complaining department. So like at Deathly Hallows Part 2, where he's finally like swinging swords and doing things, I'm like, where was this guy the entire time? I would love to have been with this guy this whole time. So I do admit that in Sorcerer's Stone, he does have his moments, but to my point, we have to walk through a lot of, Ron did it again, before.
Honestly, I think a lot of those Ron did it again moments are just like really endearing and charming to the character. Like he's a really funny character. He makes mistakes, and I think that's really, really great. But a lot of the sword stuff that he does in that chess moment, and that actually makes him a brilliant hero in that first movie.
And time. Hey, I learned how to do the thing. Yay me.
4 minutes is long. It's very long and also very short at the same time.
Yeah,
it's definitely different that minute to breathe here. But yeah, good work so far, boys. Jacob, your final 60 when you begin speaking.
Rupert Grint does his best work in Deathly Hallows Part 2 as Ron, because even though he has his moments, to Chad's credit in Sorcerer's Stone, it's the culmination. Like everything that was building up towards finally reaches a crescendo here. And so ultimately what it really comes down to is just all the stuff, all the juvenile stuff is now over, and is like Ron has finally become a man. And that part is particularly satisfying. And we can and he's no longer just that person. Like and that for me is why I personally think Deathly Hallows Part 2 works, because it's finally like we're done with the whole he did it again. It's done with the Ron of being a kid and the Ron of being the adult. It's the journey, I think, is that works.
Chad, your final minute when you begin speaking.
I mean, I think you contradict yourself a little bit when you say that, Ron, they kind of lose focus on Ron as the movies go along. And that's what I think is absolutely true. In Sorcerer's Stone, Ron enjoys going to school for the first time, meeting Harry Potter, becoming friends with him and Hermione. You get to see some of Ron's weaknesses, like his fear, jealousy, and then politeness. But you also get to see some of his best qualities, like humor, bravery, and selflessness. He's excited to go to Hogwarts, amazing knows Harry Potter, complains about Hermione, becomes friends with both of them, gets hit in the face with the broom, like you said, is scared of Fluffy, shows his desire to do something great, and then does something great. It's a full arc for Ron, but you get to see all of his emotions, good and bad, throughout. The performance from Rupert Grint is just so authentic in the beginning. He's great in the rest too, but some, like the last one, just doesn't give him much room to shine. Apart from the kissing scene with Hermione, you don't remember the rest. Quotes like, she needs to sort out her priorities, and it's you that has to go on, not me, you. Not Hermione, you. Apparently, Grint is a silly and fun guy himself. Seeing him get to flex that way feels more like Ron than in the last movie. You remember more of Neville in the last movie than you do Ron.
Good stuff there, gentlemen. We are back with question number 2. And like I said, this match has a theme. If you didn't figure it out from Harry Potter, we're in a geek match. What is the best use of the Force in a Star Wars film? Chad going first on this one. Go right ahead. You're opening your minute when you begin, Chad.
The Force is a really cool thing within the Star Wars universe. It can be used in so many different ways for different reasons, so it's tough to choose one example. It feels easy to go with an iconic moment from the original trilogy, but honestly, as the franchise grows and expands, we keep discovering new cool ways to use the Force. I chose Luke's Force projection in the extremely divisive but fantastic Episode 8, The Last Jedi. This moment is brilliant because it's the culmination of everything Luke has learned. Luke shows a use of the Force never before seen, surprising both the audience and Kylo Ren, while showing him that sometimes the ultimate Jedi move is a non-violent one. With that move, he exposes the Sith's brutality and anger with a sharp contrast, giving the Resistance time to escape. It recontextualizes what it means to be a Jedi. Luke using all of his energy to right his wrongs and show what a true Jedi Master is capable of, knowing full well it will destroy him, is the most badass move in the franchise.
And time. Good stuff there. Jacob, your opening minute when you begin.
So the best use of the Force in a Star Wars film is one that is referenced, but I still believe to be the best. It is when Yoda lifts up Luke's X-Wing out of the swamp in Dagobah. Throughout the entirety of Empire Strikes Back, while Luke is on Dagobah, he has struggled and struggled and struggled with the Force. He can barely lift a rock, and he's even struggling with that, and he just is just giving up on himself. And then Yoda is like, let me show you something. And he lifts Luke's ship out of the swamp, showing Luke exactly what the Force is, what he can do with the Force should he choose to believe in himself. And it's punctuated with one of the more underrated lines in a Star Wars movie, and I don't hear it quoted too often, but I'll say it here. That is why you fail. And so, like, Yoda's not, like, putting Luke down. It's showing him, this is what you can do. You just got to believe.
Ed time. Well done. Chad, your rebuttal minute when you begin speaking.
The original trilogy is filled with iconic Force moments, like the one my opponent chose, Luke destroying the Death Star, Vader choking somebody out, or Ben Kenobi tricking the Stormtroopers. Any of them are worthy of discussion because they helped us gain a better understanding of what the Force can do and also served as good plot moments. However, if you look at the function of the Dagobah shiplifting moment, it's not really something other Force users haven't seen before, and it's just another step in Luke's path in becoming a true Jedi. One could argue that he doesn't truly become a Jedi Master until he does his Force projection in Last Jedi. He accomplishes so much in this one act, whereas the Dagobah sequence is just a singular act of personal growth. Yoda's act in Empire changes one man, but Luke's act in The Last Jedi changes the world. He simultaneously atones for steering Kylo Ren down a bad path, teaches him a lesson, exposes the Sith's weaknesses, helps the Resistance escape, demonstrates what a true Jedi can do non-violently, and sacrifices himself for the good of the people and to change the way the Jedi operate, to truly live up to their ideals.
And time. Your 1 minute rebuttal when you begin, Jacob.
So, in The Last Jedi, that moment's cool and all, but that's not even the best use of the Force in that movie. I would argue it's Leia using the Force to bring herself back out of space. And I'm not going to rehash a whole side debate of Luke's usage in that movie because that's not what we're discussing here. And I don't want to get into the quagmire if I don't have to. I just feel like in the lead up to that, it feels very much like okay, I guess that's just what we're doing now. It feels like a big crescendo to a big battle that just never comes. And I feel like with my moment in Empire Strikes Back, that plants the seeds for Luke to become exactly who Luke is. It builds up instead of what happens in Last Jedi, where it feels like it feels inconclusive.
All right, good work there. Now we will go ahead and skip on to that 4-minute round. The 4-minute when the first player begins speaking.
I mean, I think just saying like Leia using the Force in Jedi is a better moment. That's just an opinion thing. I don't agree. I think mine is way more epic and just much more of a moment than that. But I will agree that The Last Jedi has a lot of great moments of Force usage, showing that Rian Johnson knew exactly what he was doing in helming this thing and like showing great Force stuff. That I mean I can't sit here and argue against Empire's like a movie or yours is not like a great moment, because it's super iconic and stuff like that. But I just think like even if you like look at just the usage of it, like yours is an important moment, but it also just like the functionality of it's just lifting a ship. Not that that's not impressive, but it just feels like any other Jedi other than Luke at that time could do that. And then during Last Jedi, you bet sure as shit Luke could lift a ship then, but then to see him do something even more incredible, I think is just really, really awe-inspiring and surprising, and it surprises the shit out of Kylo Ren, in the audience, and I just think that that's like super incredible because yeah.
Well, there's a whole thing in that moment where it's never fully explained what is like how that is even possible. There's context in Empire Strikes Back with how Luke is trying to lift the rock, gets it up a little, but then he just fought and then he just fails. So there's a bit more of this is what you can do, so try and do this and you will eventually do this. And with Luke projecting himself from, I forget the name of the planet, all the way to crap. I haven't seen the movie in a few years.
No worries. Across the galaxy. It's super cool.
Across the galaxy. It's never explained. It's never outright shown. It just like, oh, he can do this now. Okay. I would have loved to have known about that.
I think the explanation for that is just that we just haven't seen Luke for a long time. So, it's plausible that he has been like learning a lot of this stuff, throughout. So I could totally understand the leap and like saying like, wow, Luke is this aged old Jedi guy who like initially like, took on the Sith, and now he can do something like this. And the movie also does like, kind of give hints that this could happen, because I mean, like over the series, we have like Force ghosts, which is a thing. And then you also have like Rey and Kylo Ren like speaking to each other through the Force. So there's stuff like this, like through like planes of existence and time and space, that you could easily see something like this happening. But the surprise of it, I think, is really cool. I mean, the Force is just mystical and stuff like that too. So explaining too much about it would probably be a mistake anyways. To just see this happen and then see Luke give his life for this, resistance fueling move. And also to kind of say, like, I steered you wrong, Kylo Ren, this is a better way to go, I think is just such a much more profound moment than the one in yours. The one in yours is kind of like a Rocky training sequence.
Okay, so he's training and he eventually gets to that point. But again, there's just a question of why, like, there's a big why question. It feels like a lot of that is just improv. Like, it's the Force, shrug. Like with my moment, there's more of a practicality to it, I guess.
We're closing 1 minute when you.
Don't worry about
it. Luke's Force projection is complex, meaningful, surprising, and beautifully shot. It's not on the same level of iconicism of anything from Empire, but it doesn't have to be. The Dagobah sequence is great, but it ultimately has become just another stepping stone in Luke's journey. The Last Jedi is about Luke feeling bad about his past as a Jedi, which turns him to a path of nonviolence. With this one act, he can change the world and inspire generations to come to be better, to think about the ramifications of violence before acting on it. Yoda lifting the ship showed Luke you can do anything with the Force, and here's Luke doing just that, something that didn't seem possible before, at least not by a Jedi. Just look at the raw power of these two moves. One is lifting a ship, which is impressive, but it's even more impressive to see Luke project himself across a great distance as a war tactic. I think that's a lot more impressive, especially with the surprise element. You could always also say that Luke is becoming like Yoda in this moment, inspiring others with his message, the true message of the Jedi: defense over attack, be a force for good, and peace in the galaxy.
And time. Jacob, your 1 minute when you begin speaking.
The moment in The Last Jedi that is referenced, I feel like the big problem with that one is that it mistakes complexity for... It tries to be complex, but if you put any thought into it, it just kind of falls apart. Like I said, there's a practicality to the moment in Empire where it's a you're here, you can get here, but you need to believe in yourself first in order to get there. Like most of Last Jedi, and this is my opinion, like most of Last Jedi, it feels like it's mistaking, it's trying to be weird and complex and different, when in reality, if you think about it for any length of time, you're like, that makes no sense. No sense in this universe or anything of that sort. So with the moment in Empire, there's a proper plant and there's a proper payoff, and I think that is more satisfying.
And time. Good stuff there, gentlemen. Excellent debate. Definitely curious to see how that one comes out. We all know this is happening at some point. We don't know how it's going to go. Maybe one way, maybe another way. Maybe one of these guys has nailed it. But cast me a Keanu Reeves in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Jacob, your minute when you begin speaking.
So this seems like a bit of a layup, and it's crazy that this has not happened yet, but I am casting Keanu Reeves as Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. And I'm sure some of you are going to be like, isn't Ghost Rider already in the MCU? He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which technically doesn't count. It's a whole thing. I feel like Johnny Blaze and Keanu Reeves they're like this. They both ride motorcycles. They're both badasses, both in the movies and in real life. And I feel like Keanu Reeves is talented enough to where if you give him a juicy storyline, like I'll just reference Vicious Cycle, for example. Like, you can give that to Keanu Reeves and he's going to crush it. Like, if the John Wick movies have proven anything, is that he can play a badass and play it well. So I feel like Keanu Reeves as Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, would be just perfect.
Time. Good work. Chad, you're one when you begin speaking.
The MCU's future is uncertain right now, but it's still fun to think about certain castings that could help reinvigorate the franchise and bring a fresh element to it. I think Keanu Reeves should play Mephisto. We've seen him play villains before. The scariest I've ever seen him was when he played an abusive redneck in The Gift, so we know he can be intense. We also know he can speak words with weight. In John Wick, he is a man of few words, but when he does speak, you're hanging on every word. He's at a point in his career where his presence holds weight. So if he showed up as a big villain, it would be pretty epic. People have been wanting to see Mephisto show up anyways, and to see Keanu show up as that character, people would lose their minds. He's so beloved that people would love to see that he's essentially playing an immortal character, so you know he'll be around for a while. Now that Jonathan Majors is essentially canceled and fired from Marvel projects, why not do the complete opposite and hire one of the most likable people in Hollywood as the next big villain, either at the same time as Doom or after? I just don't want to see Keanu play the same stuff he's played for a long time. Let's change it up and make Keanu the next big thing in Marvel.
Good stuff. Back. And Jacob, your rebuttal minute when you begin speaking.
So if you cast Keanu Reeves as Mephisto, I feel like that's more of the same. Like, yay, we got like We've already had Thanos, we've had Kang, and I mean, that's a whole debacle I'm not going to get into here. If you cast him as Ghost Rider, that is immediately different. That stands out. You can tell more stories with that. I feel like if you put him on the street level with stuff like Daredevil, I feel like he could really shine with that. Not everything in a cinematic universe needs to be a grand, galaxy-shattering, like life-changing event like the blip was. I feel like you can keep it not necessarily simple, but you can keep it to the point, and you can tell a different side of the MCU and maybe keep it a little more grounded with this one. And I know I say grounded with a character who serves the devil, but in the context of the MCU, this is about as simple and to the point as it can get.
Time. Chad, your rebuttal minute when you begin speaking.
Okay. Ghost Rider sort of makes sense in a way. People think he would play that character well because of what he's played in the past with characters like Constantine and John Wick. But that's precisely why I chose not to pick a character like that. I don't want people to draw connections to other characters. Keanu is a better actor than that. The MCU is best when we get big surprises. Keanu showing up as Mephisto would deliver that. Both roles are physical. Both roles are dark. But Mephisto would give Keanu the chance to be devious, conniving, and evil. His charming demeanor can be used as a tool for Mephisto to take advantage of the good guys. Ghost Rider would just be yet another tortured guy that we've seen him play too many times. They'd have to CGI him out half the time for that flaming skull form. With Mephisto, his true form could look like Keanu Reeves with makeup or motion capture to make him look really cool, like how they did with Josh Brolin as Thanos or Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. Plus, he's older now. Not that he can't handle the physical challenge of Ghost Rider, but it just might not be as convincing as an aged Mephisto would be. Somebody who seems like they've been around for ages.
And time. Good work there. We will head on over to the land of the 4-minute debate. And your 4 minutes will begin when a player begins speaking.
So when I hear you talk about Mephisto, I feel like it's just another version of Thanos or the Eternals or some form of an immortal being that has already been introduced in the MCU, but just given a slightly different backstory. I'm not saying that it can't be cool. I'm not ruling that out. And I'm not saying Keanu Reeves can't do good in that. I'm willing to entertain the possibility that he could be. I'm looking for different here because the MCU is very uncertain right now. And so I feel like a major shift needs to happen away from the galaxy-shattering, life-altering stuff and tell different stories. And I feel like that's going to be a part to play in how it can come back. And so I don't need another Kang. I don't need another Thanos. And to your point also, Ghost Rider can be evil. Watch the 2 Ghost Rider movies. Like the first one. Second one's terrible. The first one, though, he can be evil. He can be conniving. He takes people's souls. And I think Keanu Reeves can more than do that. He can play that complex side of it. So there's levels to this.
But you want different, and yet I still feel like you're like pitching kind of the same thing. I mean, like John Wick is a very complex character where, he seems like a good guy, but he's just killing a bunch of people. So it just really feels kind of like the same thing. And honestly, it just feels like you're more mad about Mephisto being in the MCU at all than Keanu Reeves playing him. I think you even said that Keanu Reeves would probably be a good Mephisto, which I think is absolutely true. And I just don't understand the idea of Mephisto is too close to Thanos. Like, of course, we want like big villains in Marvel to come and to fruition in the rest of the MCU. Just because we had a Thanos doesn't mean that now we can no longer have like really cool, menacing villains come into the MCU, and people want to see Mephisto. Also, John Constantine, Johnny Silverhand, John Wick. Do we need another John for Keanu to play? Let's change it up.
Sometimes it just makes sense on paper. And you look at Johnny Blaze and you look at Keanu Reeves and like, this makes sense. Like logically, this all makes sense. And the thing about Thanos that people forget is that the build up to Thanos from 2008 to 2018, over a decade, that was what made that whole arc work. It was the build up. As soon as Thanos got defeated, guess who got introduced? Kang the Conqueror. And that whole thing went down how it went down. But it was too soon. And so I don't need Mephisto around because,
like I said,
I don't need him around yet.
Okay, fine. I'm not saying he needs to get introduced right away. Like, assuming the MCU lasts for a good while, he can be introduced a little bit later, or like introduced right now and then made a bigger part later. The logistics of it don't really matter right now. I feel like, it makes just, because I mean, if you're like comparing like, Mephisto to Kang to Thanos, it doesn't make sense because now we shouldn't have a Mephisto so soon. And I'm like, well, you can make that logic saying like Ghost Rider is similar to Bucky, like a very complex anti-hero kind of thing. So I feel like, you can kind of like wish-washy a lot of that and like throw that away in the same terms. But here, I just think Mephisto is a far more interesting character.
There's a lot of meat on the Ghost Rider bones. Like, he's a stunt driver who sold his soul to the devil to save his father, and his father ended up dying anyway. So there's more that you can do with that. You could put him on the street level with Daredevil, and no one would question it.
Good work there. That was another excellent one, as I knew it would be in this universe with these players. But we will go on to the final minutes. Jacob, your 1 minute when you begin speaking.
So Johnny Blaze as a character is someone that you can work with more. When I hear about Mephisto, I just hear about an immortal demon who just hunts people. Like, fine and all, but with Johnny Blaze, you can do more with that. You can play more with that. You can introduce new characters to work off around him. He can see into their souls and feel their pain. There's more that you can do with a character like that. You can stretch it out and do more with that. And Mephisto can be defeated. Johnny Blaze can not so easily defeated. And you can do more with that. I'm thinking about longevity with this one here. So I feel like Johnny Blaze, there's more juice in that lemon that you can squeeze out of. There's a lot more that you can do. You can work him off with the X-Men or the Avengers or other things, and no one would really question that.
Time. The final minute of the debate. Chad, when you begin speaking.
I mean, it's just you keep talking about longevity, and then you forget that Mephisto is immortal. Like Mephisto can just be around for kind of forever. Being kind of like that voice in the background, here or there, until he comes in the forefront, and it's like a really huge deal and a really big flaw for the Avengers, whoever he's facing. You said Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't really count, but they still had another actor, Gabriel Luna, play that. And I feel like it was more of a better fit because he's a younger person. I feel like, Ghost Rider, you don't want to cast someone who's in his 60s to start as Ghost Rider. You want to cast somebody a lot younger to come in and do that. And then, really just become that character. I feel like with this, it makes more sense to have Keanu be the aged, super powerful villain that could come in and just like whisper behind people, give good depth to Mephisto, somebody you can trust, but he has like the great like plotting cadence that's perfect for this role.
Time. Alrighty. Excellent stuff there, gentlemen. I will drop you all backstage for right now and wrap this one up. Alrighty. Thank you very much. That was an excellent debate. I don't know how it went yet, but I will see you on the other side. And we are back with some judgments. Like I said, these first few videos are going to be a bit sloppy, so I do not have the competitors with me, but I thought I would run down the judging quickly. Question number 1 went to Chad Webb. Judges stating that the more innocent, youthful Ron is the more accurate to the character, whereas Jacob's badass Ron is cool but not necessarily accurate to the character. Moving on to question number 2. That one did go to Jacob. One person appreciate for Chad. One judge did say they liked the uniqueness and scope of his, but the impact and iconicism of Jacob Cameron's argument there was a little more powerful. And finally, the final question and the winner of the match, Chad Webb. Talking about Keanu's age with Mephisto, as well as wanting a younger Ghost Rider in the MCU, is really where Chad got that point. So congratulations to the victor here, Chad Webb, and we will see you in another couple weeks.